Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Damian Bracken. I'm the Dean of Admissions at Berklee. Thank you for joining us today at our webinar on music business. This is a series of webinars that we're running throughout these next 2 weeks. We had a great event yesterday with the bass department, Steve Bailey, John Patitucci, and Victor Wooten. Next week, we'll be featuring the guitar department, songwriting, film scoring, contemporary writing and production. So make sure that you check for those and sign up to attend also. Today, we're really delighted to have a panel led by our chair of the music business department, Don Gorder, and I'd like to pass over the proceedings to Don.
Hello, hello. Thank you, Damian. It's a pleasure to be with all of you out there in internet land, cyberspace, whatever we want to call it. But it's great to, we've assembled a great panel. We're going to talk to you today about what we do in the music business department. And we have a panel that's comprised of some current students, one graduating next week or in a couple of weeks, and also one of our recent alums who's out there now working in the music industry. And of course, I also want to bring on board here the assistant chair in the music business department, Tonya Butler. Tonya, you want to say hello?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today and for taking time out of your schedules to join us. You're going to have a really good time hearing all about the music business management department, what we do, and how our students enjoy the experience. So thanks for being here.
All right. Well, let's let each of our panelists introduce themselves, and of course, I'm going to come back to you, to all of you, to have you talk a little bit more about other elements, your career goals, and those kinds of things. But just to see your face on the screen, let's go down the line. Let's start out with, as I'm looking at Caroline. Caroline Carlson is a recent graduate of ours. Caroline, hello.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Caroline. I graduated last year. I was a music business management major, and I currently work in a publishing company and record label in Los Angeles. And it's been really great. And yeah, that's me.
All right, Caroline. Jill Marie.
Hello. My name is Jill Marie Villanueva. I am a music business management student. I'm currently studying right now. I'm in my 4th semester, and I'm also a work study for the music business department.
And Jill Marie is coming to you from Puerto Rico, where it's 95 degrees.
Yeah, wow.
All right, Nico.
A little colder where I am in Youngstown, Ohio, but hi everybody. I think I know a lot of you out there. My name is Nico Ruggieri. I'm an 8th semester student at Berklee. I'll be graduating in just 2 more weeks. I play drum set and obviously studied music business down the entrepreneurship path. I've taken great opportunities in the Office of Admissions, as well as our concert operations department at Berklee to further my studies in music business. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Don and Tonya, for having me, and Damian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, Nico. Well, I'm going to brag a little about Nico because, yeah, I know.
Go on.
You're being modest, but I'm going to do it anyway. Every year, Berklee chooses a student to give to give the student speech at commencement. We have that coming up just in less than 2 weeks. A week from Saturday is actually 2 weeks from tomorrow, and students apply for this. And this year, the student speaker at commencement is Nico Ruggieri. Congratulations, Nico. We're always very proud.
Thank you.
Particularly when we see a music business student doing this speech. And I'm just going to brag a little bit to think. I think in the last 10 years or so, music business students have done about 7 of those out of the last 10, 6 or 7, I think, something like that. Anyway, that's a little about Nico. All right. Well, I think we have one more who's trying to join us, and hopefully she will. And when she comes on, we'll we'll let her introduce herself. All right, before we get going, I want to talk just a little bit about music business in general. I know that most of you you're very young. You're in high school. You're finishing high school, and you may not have a sense of what the study of music business is all about. I mean, it's it's an area that there are quite a number of music business programs out there now. We think ours is one of the best, and in fact, we've been ranked as one of the best by Billboard magazine for the last ever since they started ranking them. We always have ended up in the top 10, and we think we're closer to number one than. But at any rate, we've been doing this for a long time. We opened the doors on the program back in 1992, so we're kind of veterans in this area. I've been doing it a while, but just so all of you get some understanding of what is it that we do. I mean, what do we teach in this program? And what are we preparing our students to do with this education that we're giving them? I think you have to start out with a basic concept here that our culture is comprised of two kinds of people. There are creators and there are consumers. And you all know what creators are. Those are the people who create the music. In this regard, we're talking about music. So they're performers, they're writers, they're composers, and so forth. They are the creators of music. And then we have the consumers of music, and that's all of us. We all consume music in one way or another. So think about the ways that we do consume music. And we consume music in two forms. We consume it live, and we consume recorded music. How do we do that? We consume live music in concert halls, in clubs, in all venues of all shapes and sizes is where we consume live music. We consume recorded music. Think about the ways we consume recorded music. We get it, in television programming, in films. We get it broadcast on the radio, and of course we get it streamed, and in videos. I mean, outlets like Spotify and YouTube are all ways that we consume recorded music. Well, then you have to step back and say, so how does that happen? I mean, the band doesn't just walk into the club and say, here we are, we're going to play tonight. No, it doesn't work like that. And likewise, how does that music get up onto the streaming sites? How does it get into the film? How does it get into the television programming? Well, that's the business of music. That's what goes on to get that music from the creator to the consumer. If you're consuming recorded music via recordings, whether it's streamed or even if you still buy physical copies of it, how did that happen? And so that's the business of music. And it's all the people that are involved in that process of taking it from the creator to the consumer. Those are the careers that we are preparing our students for. And there's so many, a wide variety. I will brag a little bit to say that the music industry is full of our graduates who are involved in this process in one way or another. So, we have them working at record companies, like Caroline is going to talk to you about, because that's what she's doing. Working in music publishing, working in the live music field as in concert promotion and booking agencies and tour management. Working as music supervisors. These are the people who get that music into the television program and into the film scores. That these are the careers that they have developed, on that side. These are you call them intermediaries, the people who are in this process. I'm wondering, Damien, I see Nico on the screen and not me. Is that by design or what?
We can see everybody at the same time. The viewers can see all the panelists.
Oh, okay. All right, great. I just wondered why. Okay. Well, so I'll just keep going here for a little bit, and then I'm going to turn it over. But So, this is what we do in our program. And what we're teaching them essentially is that the music industry is a web of relationships. It's a web of business relationships that make all of this happen. The artist managers have to work with the booking agents, and they have to work with the music publishers and the record companies and the A&R people and all of that. They all work together to make these things happen. So it's so much about that. It's these relationships. They also need to have a good understanding of the contractual relationships that musicians enter into, whether it's with a record company or with a manager, with a booking agency, with a publisher. These are all governed by contracts. And so, that's part of our program as well, teaching about that. And of course, all the legal matters that govern the industry, copyright law, business law, things like that. We cover all of that. So, the end result, the mission of our program is to give students the background in business that they can fashion the careers of their choice. And we do it through all of these ways of teaching about these contractual relationships, business relationships, laws, and so forth. So with that in mind, I'm just going to start out just with the overall structure of our major. And then I'm going to turn it over to Tonya to let her talk a little bit more about some of the other features with the program. Our program is structured in, I would call it sort of 3 stages. The first stage is what we call our core. And these are business classes that you might find in any business school or any business program. I'm talking about things like accounting and marketing and management and legal aspects and finance and those kinds of things. You would find those courses, those types of courses in any business program. We do those because that's foundation. We feel like our students need to get that foundation in what you might call traditional business. But I will say this, I mentioned a while ago that there are a lot of business programs out there, music business programs, I mean. Most of them, in fact, I might even say all of them, except ours, are on campuses where they have a school of business. And the music business students typically go over to the School of Business to take marketing and management and finance and all of those other traditional, and accounting, all those traditional types of business classes that are part of their program. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we are able to teach all of those types of disciplines here at Berklee, an all music college, and we can give them a music industry perspective. We can relate how all of those areas are applied in the music industry. And I think that's one of the things that makes our program really unique. For example, I'll just give you an example. In our accounting, we can bring up the statements from a music company and show them how all of that is applied. And it's throughout our program, and even throughout those core classes, that we bring up and we teach students through projects and team projects and solo projects and that kind of thing, and assignments. We relate it to how it's applied in the music industry. So I think that's one of the sort of the hallmarks of our program that kind of distinguishes us from most of the other programs. So we do that. We teach the core. Tonya, let me turn it over to you, and maybe you'll talk a little more about the tracks and the experiential kinds of things that we do in the program, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, thanks, Don. I know that many of you listening, and especially if there are parents on the line, you always wonder, well, I'm sending my student or my child to a school of music because they want to be a musician. Well, believe it or not, many of your children are already involved in the music business and they don't even realize it. For example, many of you are already in a band. Many of you are managing or working with social media or with other artists. Many of you are performing and gigging live. And this is the kind of program we have here at Berklee that will really help to serve everything you are and everything you do. So when Don mentioned, that our program is divided into 3 parts, the first part, he's right, is that core of business skills, which you need to have. And I know that a lot of parents are actually excited about you getting that business expertise. But the other part are the tracks, because everybody does the core. But once you've done the core, you can choose one of 3 tracks. They are the management track, the marketing track, and the entrepreneurial track. And when students ask me, well, what's the difference? I always ask the student, what is it that you want to end up doing? Because whatever it is you want to end up doing will help to determine which track you sign up for. If you're interested in working for record companies or publishing companies, or working as an intermediary, which is someone like a manager or a lawyer or a promoter or an agent, that's the management track. If you're interested in marketing, whether it's online through social media, whether it's offline through things like TV commercials and billboards and everything else, you would choose the marketing track, because marketing is applicable to every industry. You can do marketing for a dentist office if you later chose that you didn't want to do music. If, however, you know that you want to start your own business and be your own business entity, you're the type of student that would choose the entrepreneurial track, because you've always, you ran a lemonade stand when you were 9 years old. You've always known that you wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's the track for you. And after you divide into your tracks, the best part about it is built into the tracks is experiential learning. It's really important to us that you get hands-on experience in doing what it is you want to do. So we have internships where if you want to work for a publishing company or a record company or a small label or marketing firm, you can do that to not just get experience, but to enhance your education. And that's what experiential learning is all about. So we want to make sure that you are immersed. And when Don mentioned that that's the one thing that differentiates Berklee from other music business programs, he's absolutely right. Here at Berklee, you get an immersive experience. Everything you do is all about you and your music and your creativity and how you're going to get your creative work to the consumer, to the audience, to the public. That's what we focus on here in music business. I would love to let you hear a little bit about some of the experiences that our students have undergone before we talk more about the program. How's that sound to you, Don?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, so which of you would like to chime in first about what it's like to be in such an immersive environment here at Berklee? Go for it, Nico.
Go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I didn't even know I wanted to do business when I got to Berklee. And the good news is you have some time to figure that out. Once you get on campus, that first semester is going to be that figure it out mode where you're going to have advisors, you're going to have students to look up to and say, I want to do what they're doing. And that's what I found on campus. It wasn't until my 3rd semester that I declared business. You're going to have time to declare it. But I did know once I declared that I wanted to choose entrepreneurship. And that was the same sort of, I had that mindset since I was a child, starting the lemonade stand, trying to turn every little prop I had into money. So, but that's not the goal. I wanted to form an education out of it too. So, I think no matter what at Berklee, it's a win-win situation. People either know about this college and they say, oh, wow, this music business department is really, pumping out the creatives and the business people. But the other thing is, if they don't know about us, it's kind of like, oh, wait, we know the name. We know the people who've come from there. So already just getting into the college, you've taken one step towards turning it into your business, your career. And the business program really shifts it, giving you the little steps that lead you to the largest steps in total. So yeah, when I chose entrepreneurship and stayed with it, you have to admit that they structure it in a way that it's not too much. You're not going out to an LA and New York and jumping in and saying, I can't do this. How do I get an internship? But instead it's, no, take this little step today, and tomorrow we'll focus on the next thing. And it's led me, to here already. So I'm very blessed for the program that these two have structured, and it'll lead you to your success.
Thank you for
Are you
that,
doing an
Nico.
internship right now? Sorry.
Are you
Yes,
doing
yeah.
internship now? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm currently working for Live Nation Entertainment as their VIP venue sales coordinator. Things are a little shaky right now, obviously. The live entertainment industry has simmered down to no shows, and we're not sure how long that goes. But before all of this, I was selling VIP tickets to high prospect clients in Boston. I was running their marketing campaigns, and probably a little bit later I'll get to tell you, but I got to start a national marketing campaign for that program. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations, Nico. And one thing you brought up, what I wanted to touch upon is, that first year at Berklee, you're all in the same boat. You are, you're working, you're taking private lessons, you are engaged in ensembles, you're taking liberal arts courses. Everybody's doing the same thing. But in that end of that second, beginning of that third semester is when you choose your major. That's when you declare, and that's what Nico was referring to. So even if you first get here and you're not quite sure, that's okay, because you have time to figure it out. And even if you declare music business and you choose the entrepreneurial track, as Nico did, you can still change to another track later on. So the options and the opportunities are endless. I'd love to hear from you, Jill Marie.
Yeah, I was about to add something to what Nico said. As a management student, something that I've been able to perceive from the music business department is the huge amount of resources that we have as students. Not only physical resources, as the research room we have in our department, that you can find books that talk about management, marketing, licensing, publishing, but also all the workshops Berklee provides, the collab that Berklee has with Harvard, the recording artist program. Like, it's amazing. You're not going to only be involved in your classes. You will also have the opportunity of participating of also clubs like the Music Business Club, which for me in the first semester was something that really helped me decide if I wanted to do music business or not. Because I remember that I wanted to do music business, but at the same time, I also liked the MPNE degree. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I remember that every Thursday at 7 p.m., I was attending the Music Business Club, and they were bringing in so many amazing people that were working in labels and publishing companies. I remember that one day they brought in Caroline. They did like a FaceTime session, and she talked about her experience. And I was like, that really helped me understood that what I wanted to do was business. And yeah, Berklee is something that it's very, very important to mention, is that more than just being a regular student taking your accounting classes, your record label operations classes, you will also have the opportunity of expand your knowledge of other things just because those other clubs and resources it provides.
Great. Thank you. What about you, Caroline? Because you are a graduate, a recent graduate working in the music industry. We'd love to hear about your experiences.
Yes. I think what was so beneficial for me at Berklee and how I got to where I am now, which is I'm in A&R at a publishing and record label company, was there are opportunities at Berklee that really aren't offered at any other college. And that's also why I went to Berklee. The program BPMI, the Berklee Popular Music Institute, was created by Jeff Dornfeld, who's a faculty member at Berklee. And I literally got to tour manage an artist, take her to Lollapalooza. Not only did I manage that project, but I also performed as a backup vocalist. So talk about if you want to do business and performing, that's a crazy opportunity. Lollapalooza is a huge festival. What other college are you going to be able to do that at? Nowhere. So that was a huge learning experience for me. And even though I knew I wanted to go into publishing and do A&R, I got a taste for what live music could be and what it would be if I wanted to pursue that route, which I was just so grateful to have that experience. There's also something I was a part of called the A&R Club, which I was co-president of, and I got to invite real live music professionals to the Berklee campus and listen to the music that Berklee artists and songwriters and producers were creating. And they also got to share their experiences with us. And so to have that connection between Berklee and the students in Boston, and then, you know, the outer industry, whether that's in LA or New York, fly to us to speak to us, that's amazing. And I would, you know, learn so much every time just within an hour of, you know, a VP of a record label speaking to us in the studio. Not to mention, we have world-renowned studios for, you know, students to create music in. You know, how many colleges have that resource? So it's just, it was a no-brainer for me. And I really believe that because I had access to those programs and those resources and those really unique faculty members, that's why I am where I am today. You know, that's why when I did my interviews in LA, they said, wow, how have you tour managed someone that went to Lollapalooza? Like, how have you already know all these executives in LA? Like, I was overqualified, and that's why I didn't get the assistant job. I just got the job. So I'm really thankful to Berklee for that.
Great, thanks. Hey,
Yeah,
Don,
well, Caroline,
Caroline mentioned BPMI.
yes,
Yeah.
but sure. Let me talk a little bit more. BPMI is the Berklee Popular Music Institute. It was started about 3 years ago by Jeff Dornfeld, who's on our faculty. Jeff was the manager of Boston back in the 80s when they were in their heyday, and he's been with us on the faculty for a number of years. He started this institute, and it's based on, it's a 3-semester sequence that students apply to get into. Carolyn was accepted into the program, and it's 18 students, and they spend a full year of activity beginning in the fall, selecting bands that they are going to work with and prepare to take to the major music festivals in the summer. Like Carolyn was saying, they go to Lollapalooza, they go to Essence, they go to, what are some of the others, Carolyn?
Osheaga, Outside Lands.
Right, yes.
Music Midtown.
Yes. And due to the relationships that Jeff has, there's the R word again, relationships. Jeff has relationships with the promoters of these events such that they get these bands on stage at these festivals. I mean, can you imagine what a thrill that is for these bands? And Caroline, you said you got to sing backup on one of these, you know, so what a great thing. But that's what this class does. It's 18 students, and they spend the full year culminating in the summer, taking the bands to these major festivals. And in the process, they make all the arrangements for them, for them to get these bands to these festivals. And in the process, what they're learning about the live music industry, I mean, that's just something that I just can't imagine you'd get that anywhere else, except within an entity like the Berklee Popular Music Institute. So we're very proud of that. Let me just mention something else that we're very proud of before we go on, which is our Music Business Journal. This is something that it comes out 5 times a year. It's online, www.thembj.org. And they come out with issues. It's all produced by students under a faculty advisor. We call it really is, it's a scholarly journal with great articles about the music industry. It's very well read. The website has hundreds of thousands of hits on it. Most of them are repeats, which means that people wait for it to come out. A lot of the articles that they put out are licensed and put up on other blogs like Hypebot and others. So it's attained a position of stature in the industry. So this is another activity for students who are interested in writing. Nico, did you ever write for the journal?
I did not.
Okay.
I did help out with a couple articles that my friends were writing, but no, I didn't get to work with them in time.
That's all right. All right. Well, we'll let you slide on that because you did have to write your speech for.
Yeah, that I was a little busy this semester, but yeah.
I'm sure.
Hey, Don, could you talk a little bit about ICE and the creative entrepreneurship minor?
Yes. We have another institute called the Institute for Creative Entrepreneurship, ICE, and it does a number of things. It has its own series of guest speakers. It's sponsoring an initiative that was born at Berklee called the Open Music Initiative. But we also have, coming out of that is the minor in creative entrepreneurship. It comes out of our department, but it has its own set of courses that do not overlap the courses in the major. So we have majors who are also getting that minor in creative entrepreneurship. It really prepares you, I think, if you're looking to continue on in your life as an entrepreneur. This is just an added way to get some additional skills and knowledge about doing that. And we have quite a number of students who have chosen that minor, creative entrepreneurship. And the courses, I can go through the required courses. The first one is called the Creative Entrepreneur Mindset. The second one is a course that Tonya has taught called Legal and Business in the Creative Industries. Is that right, Tonya?
Business fundamentals of the creative industries.
Thank you. Well, I was close. The third one is called the Startup of You, YOU. And then the fourth one is Startup Lab, where they're actually applying what they've been learning and actually perhaps building a product or a business model for a new service that's related to the music industry, that kind of thing. It's a roll up your sleeve kind of culmination to that minor. So yes, that goes on. There are also other student clubs. Jill Marie mentioned the Music Business Club. Carolyn mentioned the A&R Club. We also have the Law and Managers Group. These are for students who are interested in going on to a career as an artist manager or maybe on to law school. And I might mention in that light, we have a lot of students who go on to graduate school, whether it's, I would say most of them, it breaks down to either an MBA, the Master of Business Administration, or the law degree, the Juris Doctorate, as Tonya and I both have. But that's another feature that I've had students come to me or even write to me in advance saying, can I get into grad school after my degree at Berklee? And of course, the answer is absolutely you can, because we have so many students who have done that, gotten into very good schools, whether it's MBA or law school. So in that regard, I was talking about the Law and Managers Group, students in there. And within that club, we have a relationship with Harvard Law School. Now, this is something else I can't imagine any other school could brag about something like this. We have a relationship with Harvard Law School where they invite our students to observe and participate in counseling sessions in their clinical program, which is called the Harvard Recording Artists Project, RAP. Our students get some training, and once they've been through the training, they are invited to observe and participate in counseling sessions that Harvard law students take with artists, and they take artists who typically can't afford to hire an attorney. So they take them and they give them counseling free. It's all supervised by Harvard Law faculty. But there are students who are invited to be a part of those counseling sessions. So can you imagine what an incredible experience that is? If you're going on to law school, you've already had this kind of exposure through this Harvard RAP program. So it's really a pretty amazing thing. So Tonya,
yes.
you want to take it from here?
Oh yeah, we definitely have so many opportunities available, but it's interesting because I know that some of you might be thinking, you know what, I don't want to be a manager or a lawyer or a promoter or an agent or run a record company or have my own business. I just want to play. And we are here to tell you that at Berklee, trust me, you will have the opportunity to play, maybe more opportunities than you actually really want, because we are a music college and everyone who is admitted is a musician. So you'll have plenty of private lessons and plenty of ensembles. But what the music business department does is there's a couple of dynamics. Half of our majors want to be on the business side of the business. That's what they want to do. They know that coming in because, like I said, many of you already have experiences managing bands and other artists and doing social media management and promotion. So we get that. But then there's the other half of our majors who really just want to perform. They just want to be artists. However, they recognize that it's so important that they know the business side so that they don't get taken advantage of, so that they don't get ripped off, so that they can manage and market their own careers. So this major is the ideal major for the performance student as well. And if you're a performer and you decide, you know what, I really do want to be my own business, be my own manager, be my own promoter, music business is ideal for you. I have to ask each of our student panelists, what was it really, because it's one thing to hear all these amazing things about Berklee, but I'm really curious to know what made you decide to go with Berklee over some other school? I'm really curious to know. Nico, you want to take that one?
Sure. I do have the pleasure of talking and answering this question quite often during the school year. And it always changes. I mean, I always think of something different, but in the end, there's not another place in the world that offers all 12 of our majors at once. And that means you're getting the perfect emulation of the music industry, right? I came to the college thinking, ooh, the promise of being like a Charlie Puth or a John Mayer, who both kind of went here, right? Now, that was obviously the dream, the goal. And it's good to have those dreams and goals, and you should always be pursuing them. But in the end, you know, I looked at Berklee as an opportunity for hands-on learning, real life experience. I was going to be the large fish in a very small pond back home. I wouldn't have been challenged. I would have kind of been on the top like all of you are right now in your high schools. You're the best musicians from where you're from. And when you applied to Berklee and you went through that process, you were telling Berklee who you were. You know, we weren't telling you who you were deciding who you were. And if that means you're a business, you're a performer, you're a film score, whatever it is, I mean, you get to be that at Berklee. And I think in the end, we're not just a school of number ones, top 10 lists, you know, best charts, best alumni. You know, it's the students together. You have the opportunity to do what you want to do now. I mean, all 1,000 students that you're going to be joining with, they're clients, they're people, they're customers, they're all of the above, but most of all, they're friends. And that's what you're going to think of first. It's a place that collaborates more than it competes, a place that helps each other more than it hurts others. And when you have all of those things coming in at one place, it made sense to me that business was the only route you take there. I mean, really, so to learn how to turn this, you know, camaraderie and friendship into a business that could, you know, permeate the world. I mean, that's why I chose Berklee. It's real life. It's the emulation of the music industry.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Nico. What about you, Jill Marie? Why did you choose Berklee? Like, what was the deciding factor for you?
So in my case, I'm a singer-songwriter and I'm also an independent artist. And I had a very bad problem with a contract. I signed a very bad contract. And I was going crazy. My family was going crazy. We were not even able to sleep because when you sign a deal, it's a big thing. So I remember that I signed that deal, and the process of getting out of it, it was very stressful. I had to go through almost like 5 or 6 lawyers. It was very, very bad. And because of that experience, I decided that I wanted to do music business. I wanted to be able to learn how the industry works. And I also wanted to be able to help other artists like me, upcoming artists that did not know what was happening. Because there are so many artists that they just think about the picture of being this famous person and being so happy and having money, and they don't know that it's not about that. You know, it's not so easy to be a superstar. There's when you're up there, there's so many other things happening. You will need to have a very big team behind you, you know. And that's why I decided that I wanted to do music business, because I wanted to be able to defend myself and I wanted to be able to help others. And so far, I feel that I'm only in my fourth semester and I've been able to learn so much. Like, I'm currently an independent artist. I'm releasing music every month and I know how to do all that process. I know how to license my music correctly in case someone is interested in using my music for a movie or even a commercial, a TV commercial. I've done TV commercials for White Castle, and I felt so good when I sat down to do all the paper process because I knew how to do it. You know, it felt so good. And yeah, thanks to the things I've learned so far, I've been able to apply it to my career as an independent artist. And I feel that it's very important to mention, and I've seen this so many times with others that are such a talented musicians. They're amazing players, but when it comes to industry, sometimes you ask them, oh, do you know about this and that? And they don't know a thing. And sometimes there's so many amazing opportunities just because they don't know how the industry works. That's why I feel that even if you want to be a performer, it's very important that you take one or two business classes. The legal aspects of the music industry is one that I really recommend, because it's one that gives you like a very, very good base of what's happening in the contracts, with managers, with labels. And something else that I wanted to mention is that it's a trip a trip that the music business club has. It's a trip that they do every semester to New York, and they take a group of students and give the opportunity of visiting different companies, like, for example, AWOL, Spotify, ASCAP. And I went to that trip and it was amazing. I made so many connections. That's something that it's very important to mention, that you will not only connections from the people you get to know in those other opportunities, but you don't know what may happen. Maybe the people who is sitting right next to you in your class, in a few more years, he's going to be the next big thing or be the manager of a superstar. So that's why you should really appreciate the time. Never, even if you're in a classroom, if you're just walking around Berklee, make connections, talk to people, make friends, create those boundings, because they're going to be very, very important in the future.
Very good. What about you, Caroline? Why did you choose Berklee?
So just like everyone watching this, since I was little, I had a very odd, strange attachment to music that was just unexplainable. And when I came to Berklee, I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew was that I liked singing and writing songs, but I just had this like curiosity in knowing that there was more that I could do with that. And essentially I went to Berklee because, you know, putting aside the resources of faculty and everything like that, I just knew that I would be able to figure that out there and to really explore all avenues and then make a decision. And you know, Berklee helped me find my internships at publishing companies and follow A&Rs, and that's where I am today. That's the job and industry that I'm in. So it worked.
Carolyn, talk about what you do now.
Yeah, so I do A&R at a company called Ultra Music. It's mainly known to be a very dance-heavy label, but I primarily do A&R for the publishing side of the company, which is very urban, pop, even country. So the first person I signed to the company was a producer named Andre Atkinson. He actually won a Grammy this past year for his work on this dance hall artist, Coffee, her record Rapture. So he co-produced that record. It was on the Grammy winning list for Best Reggae Album. And so that's just crazy. I mean, I just turned 23. I signed a Grammy winning producer, and that's what I do. You know, I sign producers and songwriters that I think are great, and I put them in sessions. I connect them with artists, and you know, so far we've had releases with everyone in rap from like Young Pinch and Marky Basie to Dove Cameron and pop artists signed to, you know, major labels. So a lot of setting up sessions and honestly, you know, the first time I ever set up a session, which is what I do every day, I did at Berklee with my friends. You know, I just had friends that were artists, you know, like we all do, that were songwriters and producers. And I thought, hey, you know, this artist would be really great with my friend that's a producer. And, you know, it's what's crazy is that the first time I ever got, I A&R'd a record that was on Spotify's New Music Friday was actually one that I A&R'd at Berklee when I was a student there in Boston. And that is just so full, that moment was so full circle to me. And I always think of Berklee. I remember the day I saw the song on New Music Friday, which is, if I don't know if everyone's familiar with Spotify, but that playlist is almost 4 million followers of listeners around the world. And that was a record we did in at Berklee in our apartment. So so yeah, so I still do today. I'm just getting paid for it now, honestly.
Good for you.
Let's
Yeah.
make sure that Carolyn, you've said A&R a number of times. I think most people
Sure.
probably know what that is, but just to make sure, A&R means artists and repertoire. And
Got
as
it.
Carolyn is describing, you know, these are the people who find the talent, you know, who
Yeah.
keep an eye on what's out there and bring the talent into the company that they're working for. So that's
Definitely,
what
we do.
Carolyn is doing.
I wanted to
Yeah, we
mention you
do.
have a very active audience, and there are
Yeah, the questions are piling up, I
they're
see.
popping up.
I see that.
So I want
Yes,
to make sure that we get to a few of these. Let's talk about post-pandemic landscape and what lessons we may have learned as we go through this experience that I know we're all dialing into this meeting from our homes. I'm in Brookline, Jubilee is in Puerto Rico. What have we learned and how do you think it might impact the industry going forward? Open question.
Well, oh, good. No, Caroline, please.
Oh, okay. I can just speak from a recording music perspective. So for us, you know, being a label and publisher, we've been trying to adapt by doing virtual sessions online, being a lot heavier with our pitch game, and you know, really just doing what we've been doing every day in the studio and trying to find a way to adapt that to being remote, and really catering to what our clients are comfortable with and not comfortable with. But I would say recorded music is in a lot better standing than live. It's, you know, we're able to turn things into virtuals, and a lot of our artists are doing virtual shows and virtual live sets on like their Instagram and things like that. So as long as music is still being created and released, I would say, you know, my job is I'm still working the same hours as I was before. But that's probably very different for someone in live music.
That's a great answer, because I totally agree. It's so interesting when you teach in an industry that is changing all of the time.
Yep.
And sometimes people will ask us, well, you know, is music business out of date, or they have concerns about the curriculum. And what I love about our faculty, our world-class faculty, is that they are always on the cutting edge. You know, you can buy a book today and next week the content will be out of date. So it's really important to have people who are on the ground, who have worked in the field, who know how to adapt to change. So when I think about the post-pandemic music industry, what I think about is these Zoom conversations that we're having now are the perfect opportunity to think about, okay, wow, we had no idea that live music was going to disappear overnight. How do we compensate? How do we make a living? And one of the things that I love about our program is that we're always prompting our students to think critically, to think about, okay, what's the next option? What can we do instead? What changes can we make in order to keep up with the industry with changes all the time?
Yes, we have to do that. You know, we read, we stay in touch with the industry, and you know, this is a good time to bring up the relationships that we have with the industry. which come out in the special events that we put on throughout the year. We have a series of events where we bring people in from the industry. Tonya, you might want to talk about the business of hip hop, but there are a number of others. For instance, we have an annual lecture series that we've been doing now for 20 some years, and it was in February when we had our latest speaker. We brought in Jeff Harleston, who's the Executive Vice President for Business and Legal Affairs for Universal Music, which is the world's largest music company, and he is the head legal and business person there. So, this gives our students not only the opportunity to hear from people who are at the top in the industry and their thoughts about where the industry is going, but also the opportunity to network with them, and to meet them. And because, as we were saying a while ago, you just never know when that 15 seconds of face-to-face that you got with somebody, and maybe you got their card, that's the essence of networking. And we use that word a lot at the college, the N word, network. But we give students the opportunity to do a lot of that. And I think, Carolyn, you were talking about that too, that you had those opportunities as well. So yes, so we're very much involved in all of that. Tonya, was there some other direction you wanted me to move into now, or?
Well, I'm looking at all the questions that
Yeah.
are coming up. Damien, do you want to take another one?
Yeah, there was a great question about internships and what the internship opportunities are over the summer.
Yep, that's a great question, and it's one that we get a lot. So I can certainly answer that. We have a career center at Berklee that is very well staffed, and we in our department work very closely with them. They handle all of the setup and placement of our students in internships. They maintain a database of all of the sites where we have had interns, or where we have had those sites coming to us saying, we want a Berklee intern. So they go into our database, and students can search this database. It's a fairly formal process because these are courses where students are actually registering for an internship course. So in that regard, we handle all of the setup, but also the monitoring. We make every effort that we're placing a student into an environment where it's going to be a good learning experience. That is the essence of an internship. So in that regard, what do we have in the database? Well, just about any music companies of all shapes and sizes, most of which, many of which you would recognize. We've had them at all of the major labels, the important indie labels, independent labels, like Ultra, where Carolyn is working, but major labels like at Universal and Interscope and RCA, and the list goes on. We've had them at music publishers, the independents as well as the majors like Warner Chappell and Sony ATV and Universal Music Publishing. The major concert promoters, you just heard Nico say that has been interning with Live Nation. They, along with AEG, are the two major live music promoters, but then there are lots of independents where we've had interns working as well. The major booking agencies like CAA and United Talent Artists, UTA, and several others. So, these are the major agencies. The music products companies, they're interning there. So, the relationships are in place. Students almost always get the internship that they're looking for, and we provide their backup and work with them and do everything we can, the Career Center, to make sure that they're not just making coffee and running errands. That's sort of the folklore that goes on out there about interns.
Also, sorry to interrupt, then I just wanted to add something very important to that, and it's that the Career Center, they would not only help you find an internship, but they also have scholarship opportunities. They have a scholarship called the Fellowship Scholarship, which you can apply for, and they can help you pay for your expenses like rent transportation, meals, which is something very, very cool.
That's great. And you know what, along both those lines, I noticed that a lot of the questions are asking about the summer. Of course, you can do an internship in the summer, but depending on when you finish, you can do an internship in the spring or the fall semester. So it really is, it's wide open. And as far as how soon you can do an internship, there's no real limit. We'd like you to be, of course, past your first year, of course, before you do an internship. And the music business department has a structured internship, which is usually not available until your senior year, but you can almost, except for your first year, do an internship at any time. The difference is, the earlier you do it, you may not have all of the skills that the employer is looking for. So if you did want to do an internship in your second year, you'll have to compete with people who have experience, a little bit more experience and a little bit more knowledge and have taken more classes than you have. So that's really the only thing that keeps you from doing an internship early on in your time at Berklee. You want to get some information under your belt first. And many of our students who, let's say, if they can't get an internship right away because they haven't had any experience, our Career Center has a wonderful student employment program where you can get experience working on campus first that will lead to your first internship opportunity. So there's a way around everything here, and we make sure you get everything you need.
Yeah, Jill
Almost
Marie.
time for us to wrap up, actually, Don. You want to say a couple of closing words?
Oh, really? Okay, so we're wrapping up. All right. Do you not want to take a couple more questions, or what do you think?
Oh, no, I'm happy to. It's scheduled to go until 2.
Yeah, that's right. We're wrapping up at 2, Don.
Oh, all right. Well, gosh, I kind of feel like we should have been taking questions then earlier, because I see.
I think we've actually answered most of the questions that are here.
Have we? Okay.
Yeah, I've been reading the questions as we go along to make sure that my responses answered some of those questions.
Okay.
Also, if students that are actually in this webinar have more questions, they can go ahead and send us a private DM on our Instagram, Facebook account, or our Gmail. I'm the person with 2 other work studies, which is the social media, and we're willing to help you and answer your questions. So you can just go ahead and send us a DM. We're going to be answering questions.
Excellent.
One of the joys of my career is traveling the world, meeting students from all over the world. Many of them graduated from your program and are doing incredible things out in the industry. So thank you all for joining us today. And I really appreciate the time that you've given to have this conversation. Thank you, everyone who's attended. And we hope to see you at some of our upcoming webinars next week. Thanks so much, everybody.
Yes, we
Thanks,
do.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
See you in the fall.
Great to be with you.
Bye-bye.
Hope to see you soon.
Bye-bye.